I'm going to keep this bike together at least until the weather turns sour in November, because before I moved to Savannah, Georgia, we used to get, my brother would get about 8-10 of us together, and we'd take our vintage or whatever motorcycles and we'd go on these fall color rides on dirt roads only, and we'd do about 100 miles round trip on the bikes on dirt roads, just checking out all the fall colors kind of near where my brother lives. And he asked if I was interested in doing one this year, and I was like, absolutely. So I can throw this in the back of the pickup, take it up to my brother's, and then we can do one of those rides. I think that would be an absolute blast to take this bike on one. So it's going to get some more riding before the season's out. And this bike, I'm going to, getting the carburetors off is going to be a nightmare. I'm going to start on that tomorrow. I don't know, I might just pull the engine out. If I do, then I'll just paint the frame while the engine's out. But I don't know. I'll see if I can get the carburetors out without unbolting the engine. But I did get everything works on this bike now. I did get the, whoops, that's the headlight. I did get the turn signals working on this side. I found a bulb. I had some more bulbs in some drawers over there, and I had one bulb, so only one was burned out. But anyway, yeah, so both sides work, and the switch works good now. I don't know if you saw when I was pressure washing this bike, but yeah, I blasted the water into here to wash all. Usually these stop working because they get full of dirt and crud. So anyway, I pressure washed out all the controls, and then I blew them out with compressed air, and I'll take them apart and clean them when I take the bike apart and change the handlebars and stuff. But yeah, they cleaned up just from doing that. They work now without having to play with them. And so everything, all the lights, the only light I haven't been able to is this, and I think the engine has to run. I can see the filament, the bulb looks good. I could test it on the car with the car battery, but anyway, I'm just going to assume it's good. If it's not, well, it's a civilian halogen, so that shouldn't be any big deal. Anyway, I'm going to start working on pulling the carbs so we can get them rebuilt, and then the bike should run fine. It should be rideable. I got the title transferred. I got the application for authentic plates. I purchased a 1972 cycle plate on eBay that should be here sometime next week, and we can take the 76 plate off and put the 72 one on, and I'll get it registered to the bike, and I'll be road legal, and hopefully maybe be able to ride it a little bit yet this year before the snow flies. We'll see. I mean, if it's cold out, I can put a jacket and stuff on. I mean, it's not like I've never ridden motorcycles in cold weather. I've ridden them in the snow, and ridden them across the ice and fallen through the ice and continued going. So yeah, it's nothing new to me to ride motorcycles in foul weather, so, or cold weather, I should say. So anyway, hopefully we can get this thing going and on the road before the season's out. But anyway, if I take this for a fall color thing, if there's a bunch of us, I'll make a little video of it. Anyway, I'm going to get to pulling some carbs. As you can see, I've begun the process of removing these carburetors, which is a nightmare. But anyway, I'm going to remove all this stuff. This air box has to come out. There's no way you're going to get the carbs off without getting that out. And I'm going to try and separate them here. This is like another manifold right here that the carburetors, you can see, are bolted to this bracket that goes across there that holds all these carburetors on. These usually get stuck pretty good, and these usually come, well, yeah, I can push that off. These usually come off without much effort, but getting this air box out of here, yeah, I'm going to take the electrical back off. I'm going to take this box out. As you can see, I took the battery out. Might take the battery tray out. I'll wait until I get to that area there to see what needs to be done. But I can just get access to stuff easier if the stuff's out of the way. And 2 bolts, that's out of the way. And 2 bolts, that's out of the way. And I think that's all it's holding that is the two. We'll see when we get a little further into it. But anyway, once I get that air box out of there, it'll be a little bit easier, but it's still going to be a nightmare. I got to get the throttle cables off and whatnot. So anyway, let me get to it. I'll putz around. I'll make a little video here and there as I go. Getting this air box out was a little bit of a Chinese puzzle, but it's out, and that makes for a lot easier access to getting the carburetors out of there. These are fuel overflow, those are fuel overflow. The battery box, obviously, and I had to move the battery cable a little bit just to loosen all this back up, just to get the extra 1/16 of an inch to get the air box out of there. And the hose that goes on that to drain the air box, you can see where the hole is there. Yeah, that was all that was left of it. So I'll have to get a new hose, and also the boots on the carburetor from the air box to the carburetor. 2 of them need to be replaced. So that would have been sucking dirt. And that one wouldn't have been sucking dirt, but you can see it's close to it. So we need 2. Hopefully we can find these. And you can see the end ones are a little different than the center ones. And I think that they're the same right or left, because, you know, you can just turn them 180 degrees. But anyway, we need to get 2 of those. Yeah, I anticipated running into, you know, when you work on something that's, you know, it's a 1972. And who knows if these carburetors have ever been off. You can kind of open up the choke here. Kind of seeing that one's got crud in it. That was the one that the boot was really ripped on. So hopefully there's no engine damage or anything. All right, let me get the throttle cable assembly off, and we'll get these clamps undone, see if we can get the carb off this manifold off this manifold. There's a manifold here bolted to the motor too. And I think it would just be easier to undo these and slip it off. That wasn't as much of a nightmare as I thought it would be. They came off fairly easy. We got all 4 carburetors still on the manifold. You can see the manifold there that bolts them all together. So yeah, they definitely feel or smell gummed up. This was the only one that had accelerant in it. So I think only one carburetor was getting accelerant, and that was the only cylinder really trying to hit. I think if they had this thing going 2 years ago, it was running on gum out or brake cleaner, starting fluid or something to that aspect. It definitely wasn't running on gasoline from the tank. There's no way. Those carburetors, I wish you could smell them through the video. But yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know, maybe none of them have gas in them. But anyway, we're gonna dig into it and see. Oh yeah, something spilled out of one of them. Let's see which carburetor is spilling gas. Actually, it's this one that one that's spilling gas out, so maybe these 2 are hitting. But that one's definitely dry, and that one's definitely dry. And they're dry in here too. And I think, like I say, I think somebody was just running it on starting fluid. It looks like I need to wipe a little grease here and there. I'm just wondering if maybe, I mean, you know, it wouldn't take much more to pull the motor out and pull the suspension, and I don't think I'm going to take it down to the frame before I do the XL250, but I mean, geez, there isn't much to it. I could take the engine out with the carburetors on, but it would just, you know, I mean, that would be fairly easy to get out of there right now if I had to. But anyway, let me get the carburetors apart so I can start cleaning them. And I'm just going to leave them attached for right now until the carb kits come, but I can get the float bowls off and start soaking things and whatnot. Yeah, I think we'll replace these fuel lines too. You can see that one's just zip tied on there, and so is that one. So we'll get them correct. And the bowl vents all connect here. They look good. This all looks good. Looks like it had a 2-cycle mix put in it. Maybe, you know, to give it a little extra lubrication. That's for sure looks like 2-cycle mix. So let me show you the carburetors after I drain this out. Got the floats off of every one. These were the only 2 carburetors that had fuel. So number 4 and number 2 were the only ones that had gas. The floats are just like this one. I can't even move the... There, now I can move the float. But the needle is stuck in the bore. Yeah, a little bit of work, but I sprayed it with gum out because the smell was so bad. So I sprayed it with gum out before I started videoing again. I had to clean my pan out and do this. So anyway, let me get the floats and the jets and everything out and in these. You can see the inside of the float bowls. Get those in the, get cleaning stuff on them, start cleaning them up. Maybe throw them in the ultrasonic cleaner. But yeah, the floats were stuck on 2 of the carburetors, these 2. That's why it wasn't getting gas in them. And I think the jets are, I mean, you can see, I think that jet's totally plugged. I don't know, they might not all be plugged. I'll squirt some gum out through. I don't want to do it with the cameras. I don't want to get gum out on my camera, but I may see how many of the jets are actually plugged. All the main jets are free. I got fluid gum out through all 3 of them, but this idle jet and that idle jet, nothing goes through. So anyway, let me get this thing apart enough to where I can start cleaning it. This carburetor, the needle is clean. This one, it's stuck in here. I can't get it out. This one, I can't get the pin out of the floater, that one, so I got a little tiny punch, and I'm just going to gently try and tap them out of there so I don't break these ears off. But yeah, these things are definitely in need of rebuilding. Only one carburetor was getting gas. These needles are stuck in there. Oh, that one came out. Okay, so 2 carburetors. That one was stuck, but I got it out. But yeah, these are, well, there we go. Yep, so that's why it wouldn't run. Weren't getting gas to 3 of the carburetors. It smells really bad in here. I had to open up the back door and the front door to get some air through here to get that varnished gas smell out. It's pretty nasty. All right, let me get these and these and these. Just finish disassembling the lower end, then I'll disassemble the upper end. Yep. This was the only way to really do the carburetors, was take them all off individually. You can kind of see this is like a seal for a little ball joint. And then this one's broken, the little tab there, but that's what you adjust the, I believe you adjust the throttle. So we'll adjust all those so they're identical when we put it back together. I didn't change any of them. This one I took apart to get the piece off, but I held that screw exactly, so hopefully I didn't change any adjustments. And you can see these hoses will be easy to replace now that these are the vent hoses. And you know what, might as well put new ones on, right? And then these are the fuel hoses, and we'll put new fuel hoses and new O-rings on there. I think the kit comes with the O-rings, and the fuel hoses definitely are not correct to this bike, so they should have been more of a rubber like this, a black rubber, I think. Anyway, I'll get the throttle slides out and hopefully we can get those main jet. Oh wow, I can see crud in there. Yeah, this thing definitely wouldn't have running without these disassembled. I mean, yeah, you could have run it on carb cleaner, but I mean, it smells really bad of varnish gas still. So hopefully we can get these things cleared out and working. I'm not taking these out in any particular order. This is carburetor number 3, the main jet in it, or the main metering tube. The metering rod is right here. If I don't have to take, I'm not going to take these apart. I'm just going to clean them up if there's nothing wrong with them, and it doesn't appear there is. So we'll just, all that stuff just cleans right off. So we'll just clean those up. Be careful not to bend them or anything. Let me get the rest of the, you can see right through there now. So this carburetor is pretty much all as far down as, oh, I got to take out the mixture screw. I want to count how many turns that's open. Number 4 isn't too bad. It all looks clear. This is carburetor number 1. Most of it's clear. It's got a little blockage in it. And this is carburetor number 2. It might have run. Might have, if the, you know, got gas to the carburetors. If the needles and seats weren't stuck, I would have ran on 3 of the 4 carburetors. And one of them, the tube was just too plugged up. All right, let me get these things in the, I got to get these out, but I want to clean them in there so I can count the turns and everything. And then once I get these out, these will be down to the basic bare casting, so we can clean everything up. I'll put them in the ultrasonic cleaner. Try and turn them, so, set them so they're all, I can feel that water starting to heat already. Okay, we'll just kind of let them sit. I guess they don't want to sit there. That's good enough. And I'll move them around as I clean them, but I'll count those screws after it cleans the crud out of them. I just started them for another round. I took the adjusting screws out, but man, they're cleaning up nice. So we'll let them go another, and the water's still warming up. But we'll let them go another time, and then once the water gets up to temperature, I'll run them again. Got all the float bowls with the mains and the idle mixture and the jet tubes and whatnot, and we're gonna give this a quick soaking with this. Well, let it soak until the carb kit's coming. Who knows when they'll arrive. And this will clean, start getting all that. And the kits come with all new jets, but I want to read the numbers on these, make sure I'm getting the right jets. Let everything soak, and I'm just going to let that sit there for a while. Make sure these are in the liquid. Put enough liquid in there so that they sit in the liquid. And then the float bowls I might put in the ultrasonic cleaner after I just wanted to keep things in order. That's 4, 3, 2, 1. That ultrasonic cleaner did an amazing job. This is carburetor number 4, the one that wasn't getting any fuel. It was kind of the crummiest of the lot. Yeah, it cleaned up pretty good. We'll give it a good going over with gum out just to make sure everything's clear, but I blew everything out with compressed air. Everything blew out nicely. Good flow with everything. And so anyway, maybe I'll put some of those bits in the thing tomorrow. It's getting kind of late tonight, but I was kind of just, the top of these were polished, top of the carburetors, so I thought I would polish them up so that when it's on the carburetor, you know, it looks nice. You know, why not? I'll probably clean the carburetor bodies up a little bit too, so if there's any dirt or anything left on them, you can see that. I'll clean the magic marker or the Sharpie, I'll clean that off a little active. This bottom part here was kind of full of crud, and you got to take them out so you can get the stuff out of the threads. That was just packed full of goop, as this is too. This actually has jets to where you can just loosen it to drain it, and they're totally 100% plugged up. I can't even, I was trying to shove a wire through it. There, that's one of them. So you can see that, you know, sorry, I'm trying to hold things here and do this at the same time, but yeah, that one, this other jet, it's like concrete in there. I may have to take a little drill bit to get it out, but yeah, look at this stuff. May have to do the same here too. It's just in there like crazy nuts, that stuff. So I'll just use a little, this isn't a jet to the carburetor, this is just a float drain. So anyway, I'll yeah, I can't hold the camera on my knees and show you what I'm doing here, but anyway, you can see the other hole maybe, and it's just totally plugged up. So we'll get this, and I got these, I don't know if it shows the light show up in these or not, but, and I can see light through all the little, ran a wire through everything. Same with this. This is the idle jet. Anyway, they're all clear, you can see through them. This is the adjusting screw, actually has jets in it, so you got to make sure that's clean too. So anyway, we're getting, this is float bowl number 2. We're plugging away at it. So let me continue on here. I got a little steel wool, some brush, and just different things sitting out here on the patio in the sun, just enjoying the day putzing with this. I just got a drill bit a little smaller than the holder run through there, and that pretty much all got all the crap out. You can see it all on the drill bit there. Yeah, if you don't get this stuff cleaned out, it ends up in places you don't want it, like here and here. You know, all these pieces it'll end up in. So you gotta clean this stuff out, even if it's just a drain or just the bottom of the bowl or the threads that go in. Clean them out, because the gas will soften that crud and it'll get into your little jets. All right, let me finish cleaning this up. Just waiting on the carb kits. Everything is clean. All these, I've got all these cleaned out, ran a little wire through all the jets. Same with the, and I may put the, it comes with, the kit comes with new idle and mains, which is that, this, and this. And this I'll reuse. But anyway, they're all, the float bowls that had 2-cycle mix stuck in them actually cleaned up the nicest, because I think that oil protected the bowl. But all of them are nice and clean, as you can see. All these bits, I cleaned up these, got these all nice and pretty, as you can see. So I'm just waiting on, like I say, waiting on the carb kits. I went to the Honda dealer and picked up Honda motorcycle dealer, that is. There's a Honda Suzuki dealer not too far from me. So I went and got a couple feet of hose. We'll put new hose on. I took these with me. These I got to clean up yet, but you know, put new O-rings and stuff on them. And that's why they're just sitting out there. I got to clean them up yet. But I kind of cleaned this up a little bit. It's still got stuff on it. I haven't wiped it off with a rag yet. But just where you see it is kind of where none of this, you know, this is all against the engine. This is in between the carburetors, and all this is under the fuel tank. But you see the end here and a little bit of the end of there, so I cleaned them up. So all right, once we get the carb kits, we'll start assembling the carburetors. Got the carb kits finally, so I'm going to start working on assembling the carbs. I got two main jets here, so I went and got my magnifying glass. I'm going to see which ones were in these carbs. Maybe I'll use the new stuff. I don't know. I'm going to look at them, look at the idle jet, and I'll look at these idle jets. And if they're the same number, I may just use the jets. I may use these. I don't know. We'll see as I putz with it. I'm going to start on number 1 carburetor, which is that bin right there for this is number 1, that's number 1. And I'm going to do 1 carburetor, and then I'm going to do the rest without videoing because they're all identical and they're the same basic carburetor as on this bike here. So I've already done overhauled this carburetor, so you know, essentially it's the same thing. And the settings are pretty much all the same. Honda was pretty universal on stuff. They're kind of like Chevrolet, you know, everything's interchangeable from one to another, it seems like. Anyway, let's get to work on putting this carburetor together. First thing I'm going to do is get my magnifying glass and look at the jet sizes. I'm putting the new tube in, and the jet that I'm going to use is the number 100 because I looked at the original jet and I couldn't see any numbers on it, and it looked like the same size as this 100. The other one's a 78 that the kit came with. But and I'm relying online because I don't have a shop manual for this bike, but it said that the main jet should be 100 and the idles should be 40, and this kit came with number 40 idles. So I'm just going to put the new parts in, seeing I have them. And I pulled the metering rod out of the original. This is the original one, and I'm looking at it with a mirror, and it looks like, I can't really, it states on it what size it is. But anyway, it's on the 4th hook. And this one here is, I decided to put the new one in, and I put it on the 4th hook. And if it doesn't work, well, we'll be taking things apart again, won't we? You can see it's a little different shape, and with the new, you know, with the other part new, save all the old parts, but with that part new there, I'm just going to put it in because I don't know if the opening in there is the same or not. I just don't want issues by mixing and matching parts, so I'm either going to use all new or all old. So I'm using all the new stuff. Well, this might be a little hard to video, but anyway, the float is just touching the spring, the pin with the spring-loaded pin, so you can see how it pushes in without, oops, my foot pin's falling out, without pushing on it. And I got my calipers set at 22 millimeters, and it's spot on. So we're going to call the float level set. And now I'm going to put the main jet in, the float bowl on, and we're done with this carburetor. 1 carburetor all rebuilt together. I'm going to put my finger over this port and blow in that hose and hold the carburetor right way up and upside down to make sure I get, you know, a good seal with the float needle. So again, well, hopefully you saw that. Sealed. Blow through it. So that just double checks that the needle and seat works. I turned that out 1.5 turns. So that's where it originally was. All right, let's get on the other carburetors. I'm not going to video doing the other ones. They're all identical. The whole assembly is back together. Yeah, it was a bit of a challenge getting getting it back together. One of the float bowl screws is partially stripped. It's got threads about most of the way, but this screw, just the tip bites, and I'm afraid it's going to pull what's left of the thread. So I'll just get a little longer screw tomorrow at the hardware when I get a chance. You can see that just barely gets into the threads, so there's still threads left, so I'll just get a little. I did that with this bike too. One of the with the old carburetor body. The new carburetor body is okay, so I don't have to do that. But I think before I reinstall this, I'll set everything up so it's all adjusted, the throttle and everything, because I noticed when I open the throttles up, some of them are slightly different heights than the other. So I'll try and get everything all synced up here, and hopefully that takes care of everything and it runs good. I'm going to sync the carburetor. So I got a little drill bit here. I think it's an 1/8 inch, and I just want to make sure that they're all the same. That one's a little tight. That one just needs to go up a fuzz. That one too. That one's pretty good. That one may need to come down just a tick, but these two need to go up and that one needs to come down. So you do that by loosening this lock nut and turning that screw. So let me, you can see they're all hooked up to the throttle, all the chokes closed properly. Yeah, I don't know, that one might, they all look pretty good. They're spring-loaded closed. So you adjust the choke closing by loosening that lock nut and turning the screw. So I think if you adjust this choke, then you got to adjust that, you know, you got to start from this end here. Sorry, work your way this way. So if you start this way, then you adjust this one, these two will be off. So start from this one, work that way. But all the chokes look good. That one could close a little bit more, so maybe I'll just tweak this just a tad, and that one should be fine. But they're all good. All right, let me just get I think that's an 8mm and a flat screwdriver, and I'll adjust these so they're all exactly the same. They're adjusted pretty darn good right now. I'm not going to mess with them anymore. And there's plenty of videos on YouTube if you want to see how, like I say, just loosen this lock nut, turn that screw to move that up, slide up and down, so they're all, you want them all even, and they're all even now. And the airbox, the rubber boots for the airbox are kind of messed up. So I'm not going to put the airbox back on right now because, you know, it's just, what's the point? And it's a nightmare to get in and out. And I got those ordered, but they're coming from hurricane-ravaged Florida. So who knows? They might not be here for a while. Should be getting a 72 Michigan plate that I can register as authentic to this once I get it going. But anyway, we're going to stab the carburetors on and hook them up, and I think I'll just kind of, I'm not going to put it too far together. I want to clean the gas tank out. I'm not going to run that gas tank on rebuilt carburetors. I did drain it and put fresh gas in it, but I'm going to drain it and clean any of the surface rust out I can and wash it out. And I'll just probably, I'll run the gas through a paint filter. This is brand new gas out of my can that I filled up just a week or two ago, and it's ethanol free, so it'll be fine. I'll put it in a jug, and I won't put it in the can. I'll put it in a, you know, plastic jug so I can see in it, make sure it's all good. But anyway, let me get, I'm gonna spray a little WD-40 or something in these boots just to make that slip on a little easier, and then we'll throw that on, hook up the throttle, and hopefully this thing will, once I get the tank on, hopefully it'll run. Carburetors are installed. Like I say, all the chokes work. Put new overflow tubes. These overflow tubes can crack, so you have to inspect them. The tube that comes up out of the bottom of the float bowl, you got to kind of inspect them to make sure they're not cracked. I didn't see any cracks. Hopefully none of them drip. And but the throttle, all the goodies are hooked back up. I might adjust the valve lash while the tank's off while I'm cleaning the tank. But yeah, it's all looks good. The throttles, let me open the choke. So when I can't see what this is doing, but the throttles, when you open the thing, they open all the way. It's got a stop adjustment right here. I don't know if you can see that or not. But that's so you know it doesn't open too far. That's the idle speed. That's wide open throttle stop. But they're all adjusted, and I'll leave the chokes closed so nothing gets in there. In the meantime, I'm gonna clean the tank so I'll fire it up without the air boxes on. That way if there's an issue, I can look in the carburetors, see what you know, like that. You could see in the carburetor while it was running to see if any, you know, fuel was spewing where it wasn't supposed to. But again, like I say, I had to replace I found a new old stock carburetor body for this in a Honda dealer in Washington State, so that took care of that. It was cracked from where somebody over tightened the mixture screw and started out in there. And anyway, let's clean the fuel tank so we can adjust the valve lash, see if this thing runs. I put 2 gallons of this in the tank through a paint filter because I reuse this stuff and I don't want to get dirt. But anyway, I'll probably have to move this around and different positions and stuff you can see it in there working. It's kind of, I don't know if you can see that or not, it's kind of smoking out of the cap a little bit, but I put the air compressors running, sorry about that. I put some lacquer thinner in there and then drained that too and blew it out with compressed air to get all petroleum stuff out. Anyway, I'm going to close the tank lid, and then that way I can, you know, make sure I get it everywhere in there, and I'm going to let that soak the rest of the day and see how it looks. Move the tank around, it'll leak out the vent if I turn it upside down, but I can put it up on end. I think that's a little bit more than 2 gallons. I put 2 gallons in. It's probably more like 4 or 5, but we'll just move it around. Sorry for the air compressor running. I blew my gas tank out that's sitting in there. I put lacquer thinner in it and blew it out with compressed air. But anyway, I might have stated that already. But anyway, this is the gas that I drained out, which has no water. Clean gas. I'll filter it with a paint filter and put it back in the tank. I filtered it with a paint filter into here, and the filter was clean, so I don't think we're getting any dirt out of the tank. But I want to clean that surface rust. There's some minor surface rust in it, and we'll get that cleaned out and get the tank back on. You know, I'm not going to put a dirty tank with rebuilt carburetors. I'm going to clean the tank before I put gas in it and start it. But anyway, yeah, I've been having the tub replaced in the house with the shower stall, so I haven't been working on the bike that much. I'll show you what's been going on. Oh, and they predicted a frost last night, so I put all the plants in the garage and I just set them out here, and then the back patio too. There's some behind the garage. That's about half of them right there that I put in the garage last night. But anyway, let me show you the shower that's being worked. Here we go. Yeah, so tomorrow when I go out riding, I'm going to shower at my brother's. But there used to be a bathtub here, and when I bought the house, somebody had refinished it and they didn't sand it out properly, and it was peeling, and they didn't sand the rust. It was a really poor job. But anyway, I had them put shutoffs, so if you ever have to change a valve cartridge, it has shutoffs. It's a jacuzzi valve, and then that's what the shower head goes. And the inspector just came and inspected the construction and the plumbing, and he wants they use drywall screws, and he wants those replaced with galvanized because he said these will rust and then that'll come free. So that's what I put a note here for him. There's the thing for the plumbing inspection, and I'll show you in the basement what they did too. Look, there's still some old knob and tube. This house is 101 years old. But anyway, yeah, it's still, but it's not hooked to anything. It's dead, so I told them just to leave it there. And you can see the plaster wall. And this was added. The bathroom had been remodeled and the house had been added onto over the years. They put fire block around any openings to the basement, and they changed for the drain for the tub. That's the thing, and I'll have sliding glass doors, which will be nice. So, you know, when I get older, I won't have to step over. My mom and both my folks had a seat when they got older, and they'd sit on it and slide over and hoist her. It was just a nightmare to get them in and out of the tub. So this, I'll be able to slide the door down and go right in. You know, if I was going to replace the tub, I figured I might as well just never use the tub as a tub. So I just figured just get rid of it and put a shower stall in. And it's going to go right to the ceiling. It'll be subway tiles, and I'll show you, give you a little view when it's done. And they ran new plumbing for the drain, and the original drain, they cut the joist to put the original tub drain through here when they did the remodel or the addition, which you should never ever cut into your joists. Anyway, so they kind of did some things to strengthen it up, and then there's the new, where the new tub drain comes through, and of course goes over to the main sewer line. Yeah, the new shower stall is all completely done. Very happy with it. Get rid of that hideous old tub. Alright, so we're going to get back to the gas tank cleaning today so we can try and get this bike running. It's been a few days. I've been soaking it, moving it around. I don't have enough evaporust to fill the tank, so I've just been repositioning it and moving it around. So I'm going to rinse it out and get it cleaned out so we can crank this thing up. Yeah, the weather's turned sour, so yeah, I just turned on the furnace for the first time this year. That's the first time it's run this season. I just thought I'd add this into the video. So my air compressor, I've been kind of contemplating buying a new one because it takes forever to pump up. So while it was pumping up, I noticed the garage was kind of hazy, had this hazy look, and I put my exhaust fan on, and I'm like, it's like the head gasket's blown, or this cools the air out of the pump so it doesn't get as hot air into the tank. And I thought, well, maybe that's leaking, or the tube going from the pump to the tank was leaking. It's got a hose that goes from, this is the control that turns the pump on and off. That's where it picks up the pressure from the tank to turn the pump on and off. But if you turn the pump off while the pump's running, or when it turns off automatically, it bleeds the air out of the head and this through this hose right here. It goes over here to the other side of the tank, and this is where it threads into the check valve here for the, you know, because I could feel air blowing out here hardcore like I was blowing a blowgun. Anyway, the hose had a big split in it. I tried to cut it off and just mangled it, so I took the fitting out and I cut the hose off and put the fitting back in, put the hose on, and hopefully the compressor will be fine. I think that was the only issue, because I've always changed oil in the pump. I've always kept a clean air filter in it. I bought this compressor used. It was the shop compressor from Suburban Marine when I worked for the boat store when they went out of business. I bought the air compressor, and I've had it for 25 years, and I've used the heck out of it. It's been a great compressor. Anyway, you know, it would keep up with my blast cabinet, and it would cycle using the blast cabinet or my DA. And lately it just runs non-stop when I've been using that stuff, so I've really seriously been looking at new compressors. But I think this is the reason why, was this blown hose. So I'm going to fix it, and we'll see how it pumps up. There it is with the new hose on it. Hopefully you can see, or the old hose just cut back. The old hose had plenty of slack in it, and it feels good. I'll probably get a new hose and change it in the future, but for now that's going to work. I'm going to change oil in the pump. It's nice and warm, so I'm going to change oil in the pump and drain the water out of the tank while I'm actually servicing it here. I had bought oil for it, so I might as well change. It's kind of messy to change oil in, but the oil doesn't look dirty because, you know, it doesn't have combustion. It's just an air compressor. Whoops. Yeah, I got to make sure I don't spill oil everywhere. Oil's changed. There's a little window there that tells you how much oil to put in the pump. Takes about a quart. I use non-detergent 20W20 in it, which is getting really hard to find, that viscosity. I'm going to drain the water out of the tank too, because I can't remember the last time I've done it, and it's kind of an important thing to do. So I'll get some things out of here to access the little drain pan under there. So there's a valve right there, as you can see, like a radiator drain cock. And so yeah, I have to use a fairly shallow pan to get under there. And then I loosen it with the pliers, and then I can turn it with my fingers. That's loose enough. And I just crack it a little bit, just enough to let the water flow out. That's water and oil. So we'll let that drain. And then the compressor will be serviced. So you can see it's pretty much, well, I drain that fairly often. Probably less often than I should. I drain it about every 3 months maybe. I should probably do it once a month. But if you open it all the way, it just freezes up. The escaping air causes it to drop enough to where it just ices up, so that's why I just open it a little bit. There you can see it's mostly water, just a little skim of oil on the top, not a lot. I was using the air compressor, and that looks horrible in the video, but yeah, that tank is clean. It's just a little pitting, but all the rust is cleaned out, except for a little bit back there where the evapor rust didn't hit, and it's so minor that it's not worth hassling over. But the tank's clean. Yeah, I was using the air hose, the air compressor, to blow the water out. I rinsed it with really hot water and then blew it out, get all the moisture out of it. And that's when I noticed it was a fog. So took a little break to do some maintenance on the air compressor. I got the fuel bowl off. This is on. I ran it on reserve and on, blowing air through till I felt air coming out the inlet or the outlet from the tank. Now I got to cut the fuel hoses and you know, to the right length and install them. The tank's just sitting here so I can move it to get those hooked up, and then I want to put some gas in it and try and start it. It's raining out, so I'm not going to be able to. It's raining from the north, and the garage faces the north, so the rain will come in, so I can't open the overhead door. But I do want to see if it runs. I can open the 2 service doors and put the fan on, but I'm not going to run it really long if it runs. I just want to make sure it runs and runs okay, and then we'll I haven't put the air boxes on because the boots, I don't know if I think I showed this. This video is like well over a week, but you can see the airbox boots. One of them's torn really bad. The other 3 are on the verge, not as bad as that, but look at that. These are all new air cleaner boots. So when I put the airbox back on, it'll have new boots here. But I'm thinking, I don't know, tell me what you think. You know, I bolted the electrical back on just so I don't have any sparks or shorts while I'm trying to start it, and I'm going to put the battery box back in too. But really, you know, it'd be quite easy to disassemble this bike down to the frame, and I could paint it and buff the aluminum up and paint the motor up and buff what needs to be buffed on the motor. So if it runs good, I might just tear it apart. I got to retighten this bolt, the battery cable. I had to loosen it to turn the battery cable to get the airbox out. That airbox was a absolute nightmare. So anyway, if I take the motor out, I'll put the airbox back in before I bolt the motor up so the motor can lean forward. I think that'll make it easier. But yeah, I just have to take the exhaust and a few more bolts off, and you know, and take the forks and all that of some, you know, and the swing arm, and it wouldn't take that much to tear it down to the frame, so I might do it. And this bike I've been riding, there will be a video on that too, on the fall color ride. Before or after this video, I'm not sure. Depends on when I edit what video. Yeah, that made all the difference in the world. I can watch the gauge climb now. Turns on at 100, turns off at 125. Yeah, that made a huge difference. All I can say is, wow, that just took a couple minutes to pump up. It was taking 15 minutes to pump up when it would turn on, and that compressor has never done that in the past until this past summer. So that's been blowing out all summer, just getting worse and worse, I think, to the point where it just would run and run and run trying to pump up. But it was less than 2 minutes to pump it up to full pressure. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know if you can see the gas level in there or not, but it's about a third of a tank. You can see the little metal thing where the Honda emblem is. It's where it attaches, it's about to there, so it's probably about to here, the gas. So let me put it on reserve and we'll check make sure none of the float bowls drip. Make sure there's no fuel leaks, and if everything's good, we'll see if it runs. Give it a minute to fill the float bowls and go from there. Hopefully nothing drips on the floor. If it does, we'll be taking carburetors off. Well, I guess we're taking carburetors back apart, aren't we? Look at that. Yeah. It ran out everywhere. Let's see, that carburetor is wet. I think it's just this one carburetor. But they all have to come off to get one off. I'm going to thump the float bowl. It looks like it's just that one, just this one carburetor here. It might have a well, no, that one too. So these two carburetors. Let me just thump the float bowl and see if that makes any difference and wipe up some of this gas that dripped everywhere. Yeah, I don't want gas everywhere. Don't need a fire. That was pretty useless to catch gas. It kind of dripped everywhere because those hoses, I should zip tie them all together so they're all dumping the same spot, and then I won't have to. What next, right? All right, I'm going to take this out and tap the float bowl and see if that makes any difference. Tapping the float bowl seemed to make the difference. They're not dripping now. It's just these two carburetors that were a little wet, and I'm going to try and start it without a choke, seeing that it dumped gas everywhere. I'm going to get a fire extinguisher. Gasoline doesn't go out with water, and I don't want them fire, so I'm going to get a fire extinguisher. All right, let's see what happens when I hit the starter, what it does. That's no choke, just cranking it cold. At least it starts, huh? Yeah, I think there's still fuel system problems here. I think maybe the idle's too slow. I'll turn it up a little bit. We still have fuel system problems, so I think we'll shallow out the floats or something. I don't think that it's not spewing gas, but it's just running like it's just the, I don't know, maybe it's the ignition, but it sounds more like fuel to me, even though it's not dripping anymore. Everything looks, it could be because the air box isn't on too. Could make all the difference in the world, but at least we know the engine's good, right? The starter's kind of, you got to play with the button. let's check the temperature of the exhaust and see which cylinders are. Let's see if it sounds like all 4 cylinders are firing, but no, dead cylinder. That one's really hot. That one you could tell was hot before. That one's totally dead. And that one's hot. So we got one dead cylinder. Cylinder number 2. And we know it's not the coil because cylinder number 3 is firing. So I'm going to say it's probably the fuel, the carburetor. So let me put my finger over that carburetor while it's running and see if that, choke it out, see if that picks it up. Maybe it's just not getting gas. I don't know. We'll soon find out, won't we? I don't know how I can hold this camera on video at the same time. We'll set it up like that. All right. Okay, let's pull the plug out and see what's going on if we don't have spark there or something. Number 2 is wet, but it's not firing. So let me blow it out with compressor, and I'll switch to 1 and 2, and the plugs that is, and see if that makes any difference. But that's definitely not firing. I think I'll see if we have compression on that cylinder. I don't know if I can see if I can just feel it from here. I can feel it pushing out, so let me put my finger down in there. Can't hold the camera and do that at the same time. Pushing out on compression, so I think none of the valves are stuck. That plug wire, that was number 1, but I'm going to take this number 2 boot off and take a look at that too. Switched 1 and 2 and kind of cleaned up the wire connections, and I put my hand over the carburetor. It's getting fuel. Take a mirror and look in the carburetors while it's running to see if it's spewing out gas out of any of the carburetors, but I just want to see if this number 2 has started to hit yet. Yeah, it actually has, hasn't it? Now this one's dead, so we got a bad spark plug, I would say. Yeah, because that made all the difference in the world. That one's still the hottest. Alright, so we got a bad spark plug. Let me see if I have a spark plug, because I switched these 2 and now that one hits. So we'll take a look at it. Yep, again you can see this spark plug is all wet, so we got a bad plug. So let me if I don't have anything like it, I'll have to see if I can get another one, so we may end up editing you guys up a video, and well, in the meantime I'll just get a whole new set of plugs for it. But I'm going to go through my hoard and see if I have one that'll work. I have NGK, but this is way too small of a plug. I took it out, but I went through and I found 3 of these at 87 cents. But it's a same thing, same number. This is an NGK D7EA and this is a D7ES. So I don't know what the difference is, but they sure look about the same. We're going to give it a try and see what happens. We have nothing to lose, and then I'll just order a new set of plugs. Try it again. Hopefully we can get this thing to run halfway decent. Get the starter button. That was it. Just bad spark plug. Runs sweet. Nice. Let's check the exhaust temperature. Starting to load up. We're going to have to adjust the carburetors. These screws I got to adjust right here. I'll do that after the airbox is on. Once the airbox is on, I'll adjust all the carburetors. It's pointless to adjust them without the airbox on. But yeah, I think my thing here might need new batteries. I don't know what the difference is in that plug, this one being an S and the one that was not firing being an A. They're both D7EAs, but or D7Es, but one's an A and one's an S. So anyway, I'll look and see what plug this bike's supposed to have in it, and I'll get a set of 4 ordered. And once I put the airbox and that assembly back together, kind of pointless to adjust the carburetors without it, because that will make a difference, and I really need to have the airbox on to adjust them. But I looked in the carburetors with a mirror while the engine was running and throttling it up, and no excessive gas, or it doesn't look, you know, raw fuel or anything going through there. Carburetors all look good, and I think the fuel's still on and it's not dripping anything. I think it was just the floats were just stuck from reassembly. The floats seem to be working good now. No issues with them now. But I put my fingers over this one to see if it was fuel, and it made no difference when I did that. So that kind of was why I pulled the plug. And then switching the plugs kind of, you know, because these two cylinders fire at the same time, so this one was firing, so that tells me it's not the points or the coil, you know, might be the wire, the you know, this part, but it turned out to be the plug, because when I switched them, then this cylinder was the dead cylinder. So anyway, I am going to adjust the valve lash, but I think I'll do that when the engine's out of the bike and when I go to paint the frame. But yeah, I'm super happy with the way it runs. You know, I don't know if it's cammed up or not. It doesn't really sound like it, but it could be. But running straight pipes will change the performance too. So sometimes you got to put different main jets in when you run straight pipes, and I think the stock jets are supposed to be 100, and sometimes you should run maybe 105 or 10 jet when you run straight pipes. But we put hundreds in it. That's what was in it. So hopefully that's good. It seems that when you give it the throttle, man, it responds. It really cracks when you get into the throttle. So it's just an idle, little rough at idle, and sometimes cammed up engines do that. But I think, like I say, once I get the air box on and adjust these air bleed mixtures, that'll come to, and I think it's all good. We know we got a good engine, and very pleased with it. Oh, and the clutch stop. Now if I engage it, I can stall the motor, but I disengage it, and yeah, so the clutch works and the brake works. So everything seems to be good on it. Very happy that the clutch works too. I want to show you how easy this thing starts now. Get my button to catch. Yep, very pleased. Just started it up again. I didn't video it, but I put my voltmeter on here. I wanted to see if the charging system works, and it does. So everything's all good. So now I can continue, you know, deciding whether I want to paint it, take it apart and paint it, or just leave it as is. You guys let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. If you think I should just tear it down to the frame now and paint it up and clean it up, or if I should just leave it as is. I'd throw the airbox and stuff back on, but it you know, it needs tuning. Like I say, once I get all airbox and whatnot back on, the filter in, you know, then I can adjust everything correctly on it. And but it seems to run pretty good. It's very responsive on the throttle. The headlight does not work when I turn the switch on, but the high beam indicator comes on here and here, so I'm going to take this apart. The starter only cranks when it wants once in a while, so I'm going to take this apart and clean the contacts. This works. I did try that, and that works. Front brake works, clutch works, everything works except for the headlight. Now I'll take the bulb out, and probably take the bulb out and test it first, and then I'll, you know, take this apart. And if I, you know, go to start taking things apart, I might as well just tear it down to the frame and paint it up. But let me know what you guys think I should do with this. Kind of like to paint the frame and the engine, buff everything up. It's really barks when you get into the throttle. It's not as loud as what I expected. I mean, we're in an enclosed garage. The door's closed because it's raining out, and I don't want the rain blowing in the garage. So we'll call this good, I think, for now. We'll end the video here so you can see it does run, and then we'll decide what we do from here. And if you like the video, you definitely hit that thumbs up icon. It for sure helps me out. If you like my channel, that 348 engine icon will subscribe you. And thank you for watching my video.